There we go. Hey, Lori. Haven't seen you in a while.
It's kind of loud.
All right. And we're not going to do any sharing screens or anything crazy like that today. It's just going to be a conversation. So feel free to use the speaker mode on your Zoom if that's easier for you to kind of follow who's talking. And I want to introduce everyone to Sara Lyman. If you don't already know her, Sara is an incredible human. She is a former broker owner and currently a Tom Ferry coach. And she is cultivating an awesome community, the Hey Homegirl community and podcast. And so I know that a lot of us have really big goals, of course, for Q4. We're all doing this 100K in 100 days and everything else. But looking at our business planning for next year, I thought, starting a podcast might be something that some of you want to incorporate, or building a community might be something you want to incorporate. And she's really great at both of those things. So I asked her if she would come in and share her secrets and kind of how she got started and why and how she's doing what she's doing. And she graciously agreed. So thank you so much, Sara. So I want to just hand it over to you and let you kind of give the backstory of what kind of led you from the start of your career to where you were when you decided to build this community and start this podcast.
I don't know. That's a long story. It spans over 2 decades. So I've been in real estate since the year 2000. Started at a small independent brokerage. I'm in Massachusetts, and I also service Southern New Hampshire. Um, about 4 years into my role as an agent at a small independent brokerage, Remax came to me at a very young age and said, "Hey, do you want to open up your own office?" And I was so young and naive and didn't know what that meant. And I said, "Sure, I can handle that." And so I opened a Remax franchise, and I had that for the first 5 years until the market crashed. And of course, when everything happens all at once, the market crashed, things weren't too good. Um, I got divorced. So I had two little kids. My husband left. So here I am, a single mom with a Remax franchise in a very, very economically challenged part of Massachusetts. And there were times that I had to make the decision. Am I going to pay my franchise fees this month? Am I going to pay my mortgage this month? Am I going to pay my rent on my brick and mortar this month? So we finished our Remax franchise contract. Those were, back then it was a 5-year commitment. We turned indie. I stayed as an indie broker until last year when I sold my brokerage. I was able, over the course of 2011 until I sold in 2022, to gain number one market share. And I had the most agents in my area as far as practicing full-time agents. And I was really able to cultivate an amazing sense of community within my office by training brand new agents. My area of Massachusetts is one where people basically stay in real estate until they're 90 years old, and they die in real estate. They don't get out of the business. So nobody was leaving brokerages, even though I was the only name in town that had a franchise. And when that went away, I was really the only place that was doing high quality photography, any video work, really stuff like that. So agents were scared to come that had been in the business for a long time. And I realized really early on I had to train and grow my own agents. So I got really good at that. And probably like many of you, we attract what we're like, So I'm a mom, I'm a woman. I attract women agents, a lot of young moms, and getting them to understand how to work in this business. And so over the course of the last 11 years, what I've really learned is that female agents need a community. They need a strong sense of purpose, and they need someone to pat them on the back and give them high fives, because we don't get a lot of that in this industry. And so when I made the decision to sell my brokerage and just focus on coaching and training other agents and running a small team versus a whole brokerage, I decided to start the Hey Homegirl podcast. It's really just a passion project. I got sick of seeing how Selling Sunset was portraying the females of our industry. And I know how hard I work in small town Massachusetts to love on my community and to share the amazing things that are going on in my community. And I see that resonate with so many other female agents from across the country. I mean, you are the lifelines of your community. And we don't share that story enough. We don't share the fact of what we give back to our communities on top of being a mom, some of us being wives, some of us being moms, and business owners. And that, I think that role has changed a lot over the last 3 years. And I think it's going to continue to change exponentially over the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep, agreed. Well, we did get a question. Can you clarify what part of Massachusetts you're in and kind of what area you're serving? I know you said Southern.
So I service North Central
North
Massachusetts.
Central.
So anything over Worcester, like Worcester North, into the Franklin County and Western Massachusetts area. And then I also am licensed in New Hampshire, but I only handle Southern New Hampshire.
Southern New Hampshire. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. So when you got inspired to start your podcast, did you have any goals for it, or it was really just kind of more of a passion project?
It was a passion project. I really just wanted to have a platform to be able to interview all agents from across all over the country and see what is working in their business, see how they're juggling all of the different facets of their life, and be able to share the innovative things that they're doing. I didn't really know where that was going to take me. So luckily, I had already been working with a marketing company for something else, and they had a really successful podcast. So they had kind of helped me get it off the ground.
That's awesome that you had that marketing company to help you with that. So that was that like step number one was to find somebody to help you launch it.
No, step number one was really trying to figure out what I wanted it to be. And I had started a year before kind of going all over the country when I was traveling and just meeting and talking to other agents, female agents, taking notes, learning a little bit about them. And then from there, I was working with the marketing company on a different project, and I found out about their podcast. And that's when I went to them and say, hey, can you guys like give me the ins and outs of how to do this? I watched a lot on YouTube beforehand, but there isn't enough hours in the day sometimes to teach yourself how to do everything.
Yeah. And I think that that's probably where, anyone that's toying with this idea is kind of stuck because it's like, where do you even start? So it's great that you had that marketing company to kind of guide you through. But so after you figured out kind of what you want it to look like and you had your marketing company, how did you go about because I know a lot of your content is interviewing guests. How did you go about identifying who you were going to interview and getting them on board with that?
The marketing company really gave me space to be able to work on my vision more. And so with that, we created, what would be the avatar of the perfect guest to have and how would I find those? And we're in a really lucky industry where there are female agents no matter where you are. There's big, cities that have them, small metropolitan areas, the suburbs, very, very rural parts. And I want to be able to spotlight agents in every aspect of that. I feel sometimes the only people that get to tell their stories or share their stories are the agents that are in those multi-million-dollar marketplaces. And that's just not what makes up the fabric of America, and through talking to different agents over the last 3 years and really hearing their stories, there's so much that they're doing to impact their communities while juggling everything that they're doing on a personal level, that we really are super women. Like we wear capes that other people just don't wear because we have to be on all the time. So to find those guests, it's been an interesting journey. I've definitely leaned into a lot of the relationships that I've made through the Tom Ferry ecosystem, but I had been in 2 other coaching companies before that. And so some of the people that I've had on are from other coaching companies. Some of them are from within my own brokerage. My brokerage is in all of New England and in Florida. So I've had a couple of guests from there, other agents from across Massachusetts. But I'm also kind of weaving in other people that, their jobs touch upon real estate too. So I had a really great marketing girl on. I had a motivational coach who's also a mortgage broker on. And in season 2, which is coming out next month, there are going to continue to be other people from industries that are very, very similar to real estate or that partner with real estate agents to kind of help share their stories too.
Awesome. Awesome. So it sounds like you do a lot of prep and planning in advance. So tell me what it's like. Like, how are you managing recording this podcast, having new episodes come out consistently, and still running your business because you're in the trenches doing sales like everyone else, right?
Yes. So that's kind of a work in progress, and all of it coming together upon the time that I sold my brokerage really opened up space for me to be able to do more things. My brokerage was very successful. It was very profitable. I knew it was the most profitable it was going to be for the next 5 years. And I knew if I didn't take the opportunity to sell it when I sold it, then I was going to have to work even harder in this market because I'm really good at future forecasting what our markets are going to be like. So that opened up the space for me to be able to have time to do that. Upon my decision not to be a broker owner anymore, I started a small team with some of the people that were in my office already. And I worked for a year to kind of transition them to be able to cover a good portion of my business while I'm on my coaching calls, because the requirement, when you work for Tom, is that you have to have a certain amount of hours dedicated to coaching every single week. And I knew that I was going to need that help to maintain the customer service that my clients were used to. So the formulation of the team was a big help. And then I hired a really great VA. And so the VA company that I work with is called Cyberbacker. They're a real estate platform VA service out of the Philippines, but they do all of the training for the VAs for you. Kim Tarbox, who's been a guest on the show a couple of times, had given me that contact information about 2 years ago, and she uses them for all of her transactional assistance and a lot of her social media posting. So I had reached out to them and said, listen, I want one fluid person to be a TC for my team. And they said, well, what else do you want this person to do? And I said, well, they could probably help with some social media stuff along the way. And they said, well, what else are you doing? And they asked a lot of questions. And I came upon the podcast and they were like, well, we can do all the editing of that for you. We can take that over. And for me, that has made this still be a passion project, because I could see after doing 20 episodes, somebody could get burnt out really quickly if you're in charge of doing all of that, the scheduling, the interviewing, the social media aspect of it, and then the editing part of it. So I've been really lucky to be able to have my same VA be able to do all of the majority of that for me.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, cyberbackers, I wrote that down because I think that is one thing all of us kind of search for is like who's the best VA out there and the best VA company. So that's really awesome that you have that assistant. So let's talk a little bit about like that technical aspect. So where do you record? Do you record in your home, or like where, or you have a studio that you're doing that in?
Yeah, so I just record in my home. So I have a home office and I record all of the episodes here. I do have a high quality microphone.
What microphone is it? Everyone's going to ask what.
Okay, everybody's going to ask. I have to actually, you know what? Give me 1 second. I did a lot of research through watching YouTube videos before I purchased any equipment at all. And then the marketing company that I worked with, they provided me with a whole outline of what I had to do, when I had to do it for the launch and for the setup of the podcast. And if anybody's really serious about podcasting, you can message me later and I'm happy to share anything with you. Debbie Holloway is going to start a podcast, and her and I have been talking a lot about how to get that off the ground. And I gave her all of my content. So for my podcast speaker, I am using the Realtek high definition microphone. And it was not that expensive. I found it cheaper through the actual website than I did on Amazon.
Okay.
It was pretty cool.
And then you're recording through Zoom, is that right?
Yes. So I'm recording through Zoom. There are lots of other different platforms that you can do. For me, for the content I wanted to provide, I wanted to be able to provide a podcast, but I also wanted to do long format video, because Tom's always saying long format video, other content. And so we record it in the long format video. My editor goes in and edits out any bleeps that we have or pauses or weird things that like that. And then she gives it to me and she cuts it up in smaller chunks for YouTube shorts and for other social media blasts.
It sounds pretty simple, like Zoom and a microphone in your house.
Yeah, there's so many other ways that you can do it, but my microphone has provided such decent quality that I haven't felt the need to be able to or have to purchase any of the other equipment that's out there. But they have mixers so that your voices can sound different. And I think what's really exciting is what's happening with some of the AI stuff and how AI is really going to take this over. That's one thing that's on my checklist that I have not started to look at yet, but my understanding is that you can now plug your entire podcast into an AI app and it will completely edit everything for you. So it will completely take out in one process, take out the ums. It will do your captions. It'll make the voice and sound quality equal on both ends. I think that's the one technical thing that I haven't figured out. And to be completely honest with you, ladies, I haven't put a bunch of time into it is recording through Zoom. It really depends on what type of camera quality the guest has. So I'm recording off of my laptop camera, which I have a brand new Surface Pro. So the camera quality is pretty good. Sometimes I do record off of my Sony Z1, which is really, really good too. But sometimes depending on who the guests are and what their computer cameras are like, that does look a little wonky sometimes. I just roll with it. This really is a fun project for me, and the stories and them sharing their voice is more important as to how the video quality looks. Done is better than perfect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So where do you see this kind of going in terms of like, do you have a long-term goal for this podcast?
The biggest goal is just to share as many stories as possible. I would really love to have at least one woman in every state across the country, potentially globally. I've been speaking with an agent from Australia and a couple from Canada that are going to be on hopefully in season 2 or 3. My good friend Kim Tarbucks, she would love to see it turn into a women's retreat once a year where we go somewhere fun and have a giant slumber party and all just kind of share our great things and the things that we're struggling with. And I think that could be a lot of fun too.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like it is kind of like a community, you know, and I know that you started like the Instagram page, the My Homegirl community. Yeah, I just feel like there's more to it. Like there's more that could come of that. But yeah, just curious like what your personal goals for it are. So have you
I
thought
would
of
really,
monetizing it at all, or do you have any sponsors that have reached out?
I've had 2 sponsors that have reached out, which is exciting. Monetizing in the long term, I think will be good to kind of offset some of the costs. Right now, it runs me, I just went through this the other day. It runs me about $660 a month. Between my VA, so she's doing other work for me too, and then the other costs that go along with it. So something to kind of offset that expense, I think will be important.
Mhm.
I have a website. Part of the goal in the website down the road, I might get some fun merch with that homegirl theme. I've always had a goal of writing a book. So I'm kind of hoping that some of the insights that I'm picking up from these other agents from across the country could lead to a book someday. Um, it's really just I'm at another stage of my life where I've been doing the real estate part of it and hustling houses for so long that I'm just kind of looking to see other ways I can give back to our real estate community and just learn more. I think that's one thing that the Tom Ferry ecosystems really opened my eyes up to is that, we get used to doing things in our own little corners of the country, but there's so many other smarter ways to work if we just lean into each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Is the marketing company that you worked with local to you, or are they a national company?
No, they're called the Social Society. And they came into my life because of another coach that I had in a retreat that I went on with them. And part of the retreat was having them come in and do some marketing pieces for us. And they work out of Nashville and Louisville, Kentucky. And they helped me with all of my branding for the Hey Homegirl podcast. They've helped me with some of my branding as a Tom Ferry coach, and things that are coming in the future. So
very cool. And then do you have any specific advice that you would give to those that are maybe considering starting something similar?
Make sure you give yourself enough time. So if you're going to set a launch date, make sure that all of your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. The week before my launch, even though I was following the whole timeline that they gave me, I didn't realize that when you sign up for a podcast company, like somewhere that houses your podcasts for you, I chose Buzzsprout, which is super easy to use. Cost me $12 a month. It's very, very efficient. That you then have to be able to set everything up on there and then get it approved. And that approval doesn't happen overnight. They had told me 3 to 4 days, but Apple Podcast was specifically very long. It took me over a week and a half to get everything approved through them. There are different ways you can do it. I chose to set up a full website, and I worked with a different company other than my VA to set that up. And that probably could have gone a lot smoother than it did. There were a lot of re-edits that had to happen because of the company I chose to do that. And that took a little bit longer. So just really make sure you give yourself some time and you have everything set before you hit that launch, launch advertising.
Good advice.
And then through some of the other coaches and other podcast people that I've been talking to, I think the biggest thing is consistency. You have to be able to have the time to put the consistency behind it. It did not go as quickly as I hoped it would, but I've never done anything like this. So, we at episode 17, we hit 1,000 downloads, and we're at just over 10,000 listens, which is kind of interesting. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So I listen on Apple. So if you guys are not subscribed or listening to the podcast, it's Hey Homegirl Podcast. It's on Apple. I don't know what other platforms there even are, because I always listen to Apple, but where else can they find it?
Yeah, I've got it registered everywhere. It's on Spotify, Google Podcast, iHeart Music Podcast, Amazon Podcast. And there's so many other smaller ones that are out there also. The nice thing is when you sign up for a subscriber like Buzzsprout, you automatically can put it into any of those categories. So you choose which ones you want. I chose them all. There was no additional charge for that. It's just some of them had a different process. And then you can go ahead. You have to have, there are a number of requirements, and my checklist goes through those, which I'd be happy to share with you if you want, but there's certain things and graphics that you need to have to be able to launch it.
I have a comment from Rose. She says she loves how short the episodes are and then full of knowledge. So
thank you, Rose.
Kudos there. So Buzzspot, Cyberbacker, the Social Society, those were some of the things that were mentioned. So if you didn't grab those names and you want to write them down, thank you so much for sharing that, Sara. And before we move on to kind of masterminding a little bit about the 100K in 100 days, is there anything else that you think we should know? And I love that you're willing to share that resource for the checklist.
Just really be intentional about it and set that consistency with it. David Caldwell has a really great podcast that he does also. And he was the one that told me, if you can't be consistent around it, you're never going to get those, people that are subscribing and listening every single week. So, I do once a week. I try to make sure my episodes are no more than 30 minutes. But you can do a much, much smaller. And I think moving into season 2, given some scheduling conflicts that I have, I would love even just to have a couple that are shorter, introducing people that maybe don't want to talk for a full half hour, things like that, or, just kind of giving some more industry tips and highlights, as opposed to full interviews all the time.
We have another question about the AI. I know you said you're just starting to look into that, but do you know the names of the AI companies that are doing that editing and
I
everything for the podcast?
don't have them written down somewhere that I can easily access them right now. But by Monday, I'll put up on the Ladies of Elite page some options for that. I know that the girl that does all of my editing, she uses CapCut right now. And I think she's just using captions to do the captions on them. So for her, it takes her usually, she can do 2 episodes a week if I don't have a lot of other real estate work for her to do.
Okay. Good. Any other questions? And you guys can chime in with questions too. You don't just have to put them in the chat. So any other questions?
I would love to hear from any of you. What types of topics would you like covered? Where are you struggling in your business or juggling your own life or other things that, maybe one of our experts can help bring value to?
Hi,
I
this is
am.
Emily. Sorry, I just played pickleball, so don't mind my appearance. But I have a question. I thought of an idea, and maybe you've already covered it. I apologize. I'm not a subscriber as of yet, but I will be the second this is over. You mentioned speaking with international realtors from obviously around the world, and I was wondering if you've had any discussions with them about how their commissions are managed. Obviously, not to get into the weeds of it or talk actual rates, but just as we're having so many discussions on a national level here with the Department of Justice lawsuit. I was just wondering if you had any insight as to that and just what they have to share or say or anything like that. If not, maybe that would be a topic for the future because I think we would all it would be nice to know, but I think we're all going to experience some changes going forward on
Yeah.
that front.
Yeah, I agree. I know that from what I have heard, other countries, real estate agents are not compensated the same way that we are. So, understanding more about that, I think would definitely be good to hear for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing today.
Oh, of course.
And I love your green background.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm actually thinking of changing it to pink, but I don't know. I love,
Oh
but
God.
I might have to go pink. We'll see.
Now you're speaking Emily's love language.
I know.
Yes.
I
My
know.
gosh. If you
Yeah.
say neon pink, I would do a cartwheel.
My problem is I wear a lot of green and it's really hard when you're on a background. Like I have to think about what I'm going to put on every day when the bulk of my closet is green. So, the other thing about the podcast that I think is really important, and I didn't understand the importance of this in the beginning, is having a really good intake form. And when you do your intake form, I use Jot form. I also use it for my coaching clients to have them fill out before each call. Make sure you're putting as much information in there as possible and make sure that you're having your guests sign a waiver form that you have permission to use the content, just to kind of cover yourself, God forbid. But on my Jot form, I asked for their logos. I asked for photos of them because I found I was spending a lot of time going through their social media looking for those things where, if I just ask them for it and then I use the pictures that they want and how they look, it goes a lot better. And then I had my VA start to peruse their hashtags so that I could more readily have those available for each episode and just not have to spend as much time going through social media to look for those things. If any of you would like to be a guest, you can go to Hey Homegirl or howtobeahomegirl.com and there's a link for the Jot form. I would love to have you on.
I'm taking notes so I can put all this out to those that
Karina
may
has my
attend.
most downloaded episode ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
you're
didn't
almost
know
at
that.
100 downloads. Yeah.
Go download the episode with me on it, guys.
Yep.
I want to keep my title.
She's episode number 3 or number 2. Number 2. You were the second
Yeah, I
episode.
think I was too. Yeah. Awesome. That's so cool. Any other questions, guys, before we talk about the really fun 100K in 100 days that everyone is struggling through the 100 days? Well,
I know
thank
this
you.
is, yeah. No,
I was just going to say thank you.
okay,
You
I
go.
was
You
gonna say
say.
thank you. Yeah, if there's anything you have questions about, if you have questions about, me running a brokerage, me training agents, me being a Tom Ferry coach, like anything, you guys can message me at any time. I'm very, very transparent and just want to help people that have questions because the ecosystem's been so good to me.
You're so awesome. I love how giving you are. You have such a good heart. So thank you so much for sharing with all of us today. And I'm sure you'll be a resource for a lot of us in the future to get this going. So I appreciate it. And so I wanted to just talk about 100K in 100 days really quickly because I don't know if anyone else is feeling like I'm feeling, but I kind of rocked like the first 30 days. I was like all over it, like, oh, I'm texting ZMAs, this is easy. And then it got to the next set, and it's like the video portion of doing like the video market updates. And I kind of stalled out. And I think I stalled out for a couple different reasons. I think number one, because I was doing a lot of it when I was like in my car while my daughter was practicing. Like you can do those ZMAs anywhere, where this video CMA, I feel like I have to be tied to my desk. Also, like I'm a technology challenged person, and I'm like, what's the best format? How do I do it? I'm kind of overthinking it. And I also think because to be on video, I have to have makeup on, and I don't like to do that every day. So then it limited me to like, okay, I'm going to have to do it on Tuesdays from this time to this time. It just became too hard. And so I haven't done anything. So I talked to my coach about that today, and I'm like, I feel like doing something is better than doing nothing. And I don't think that I'm going to do the videos. So she told me, she went through what we're going to do in the last chunk. And she gave me a substitute activity that I wanted to share with you guys. So she said, instead of doing a video CMA, that I could send everyone, because the videos are supposed to go to everyone in your sphere. So it's the same people that you text the Zillow estimate to last month. She said to pull a listing that's active, not closed, in their neighborhood or something that would be considered a comp that's close by, that's active. Text them a link to that listing and say, hey, I just saw this one that came up, or this one that's for sale in your neighborhood. Take a look at the listing and let me know what you think about the price. So she said that will engage them in conversation. And what we're going to do in the next step, if you didn't look ahead, is that there's going to be a series of text messages. And one of the text messages, this just closed in your neighborhood. This is what it sold for. So you could, if that one closes, you could use that same house and it'll blend in perfectly to the workflow. If it doesn't close, you could find something different, but it's still kind of in that same thread of the conversation. So I am going to do that because that is way easier. I can do it in my car while I'm watching my daughter. Just find a house that's active in their neighborhood and text them a link to the MLS and say, this one just came on the market. It just kind of continues the conversation. So I wanted to share that with you guys in case anyone is on that same struggle bus. And I shared it with Sara, and she had a really good idea too. So I'll let her kind of share what her idea was.
Video is a hard platform for a lot of people. And I think it's just really important to remember that right now, there's so many different ways that we can be putting out video content without you having to be in front of the camera. So you can go online and you can find that listing, and you could just screen record it, or record it from your, however you want to do that. And then you could talk over it. So you could have the small video, and then you could just say, hey, Mr. Joe Banana, this house just came up for sale in your neighborhood. What do you think of the price point? Or I'll keep you posted on what it sells for. I'll check in next month and let you know how it's going. How do you think it compares to your home? So when thinking about video, just really remember that there's so many new and unique ways that we can be using it, and it doesn't have to be front facing all of the time. I recently took a class through NAR to be like an instructor. And we had to put together courses, not even real estate related courses. And it was so interesting to see the other 20 people that did that class with me and the creative ways that they promoted their classes without doing a front face video. They added in BeReal, or they just spoke over other video that they had made, or something in Canva that they had made and put it out there. So you could even take what your office might be giving you for content as to what the market conditions are, if you do market updates every single week for your neighborhoods, you can send that out in a Canva MP4, digital link, and just have yourself talking over it to all of your clients. It doesn't have to be you front facing the camera.
I'm so technology challenged. I'm like writing that down in like a Canva MP4 digital link. Rose has an idea too. Rose, you can share.
Hi guys, I've been struggling with the exact same thing, and I just literally right now, right before this call, that's why I had texted in our group chat. I said, wait, is this in 9 minutes? Because I was so focused on creating this process. I'm, me, Karina, I'm like systems to the T. So I was like, okay, how can I do this? So for those of you who have Chime, okay, get Slide Broadcast. It integrates with Chime, okay? And also BombBomb, right? So like, unfortunately, Loom does not integrate with Chime, which I'm a little bummed about because it is a lot less in price. But let me tell you, so what I did was I created a drip campaign, I guess you would say. And in my drip campaign, it has basically like a slide broadcast that I'm going to send out. So what I did, because I kind of did the same exact thing as you, Karina, I went through my entire list and I'm like, wait a second, I'm not going to send them a video. That's so awkward. Like I just texted them. So what I did was I asked my title rep to scrub the do not call list, right? There's 5 zip codes that are within my little area of my office. So I asked them for the 5 zip codes likely to move list of sellers, and he sent that over to me. So what I've done is I've integrated it, uploaded it into my CRM. I created the slide broadcast voicemail on my phone that's very generic because I could easily read, right? Like I took these notes. I could easily read the script, make sure it sounds very personable, and then upload it into Chime as that text drip campaign, right? So it'll text them the exact same thing that I also wait 10 minutes and drop a voicemail into their phone. So now I'm able to do mass producing, whether I'm in the car or whatnot. I just assign that person that drip. And then my game plan is in a week to send a follow-up. So creating a follow-up text drip campaign, right? With a follow-up, hey, just wanted to check out to see what your thoughts were in the event that they don't respond, right? And then the voicemail saying, hey, I was just thinking about you. I didn't hear back from you. I just wanted to check in and see if you had any questions. That's me not calling all the time because I have 4 kids and my life is hectic, but I could do that. So I figured that out, and I think I haven't started it, but I'm really curious to know what the results are, because the people that are interested, they're going to raise their hand, right? Especially if you create this voicemail through slide, it's 5 cents a message. Like, could you take 5 cents, or how much time are you going to spend on the phone? And then you feel like crap because you didn't make any calls that day because you're running around. Like if you just did 10 of those, you could do that. You could knock that out in, 10 minutes. So I just thought I'd share that because I found that and I thought that was the biggest win. Hold on, let me see here. Somebody just wrote something. What are you saying in your slide broadcast message? Okay, so I'm kind of a freak. I went through the Tom Ferry page and there's, you're gonna think I'm such a freak. So somebody, look at this. Somebody posted, Sergio Gonzalez, he posted message. So I print it out, I'll screenshot it and I'll print it out, okay? And I'm like, hell yes, I'm about to read this, right? So I'm trying to figure out a way to hit those goals, to supersede that and still feel good about myself, because at the end of the day, the people that are going to raise their hands and they're interested are going to raise their hands and express that they're interested. So what's the fastest, quickest way managing a bunch of different tasks, as well as still the business, right? Still your social media. Oh, and by the way, don't forget you have to feed your kids and your husband and your life, so it's a lot. I just wanted to share that because that to me I know it's going to be a game changer.
I have a couple questions for you, just to make sure I'm following what you're doing. I don't have time, but so are you, because I've done slide broadcast before, but that's like recording one message and mass sending it to multiple people, right?
No, hold on. No, I'm not on mute. Okay, so slide broadcast, I wish I could share my screen because I'm on my phone, but on slide broadcast, let me see if I can pull it up on my computer really quick. Hold on. So on slide broadcast, you can record different voicemails, right? So since I'm doing La Mesa, Spring Valley, and Lemon Grove, which are more like up and coming neighborhoods in San Diego, because I wanted to beta test it in those neighborhoods, because I'm like, okay, whatever, then go in straight high end and get nailed. So I'm trying it in those neighborhoods. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create 3 different voicemails, okay? So that voicemail, an example, I'm going to do it today, but like what Danny said, right? Or what Sergio said was, hey, it's Danny. We sell homes here in our neighborhood. Really quick, I just wanted to share this market update with you. You can see the market in Spring Valley, right by you could say like, basically, hey, this is Rose. I'm a neighbor here in Spring Valley, California. I wanted to just share with you what your Zillow's estimate is appearing as, or whatever. I also took the liberty to look at homes in comparison to yours. I'm just curious to know what your thoughts might be. Send me a message via text, or you can give me a call back at this number. Because in slide broadcast, your number that you drop the voicemail as is your personal number. So like within your CRM, right, they give you like a virtual number. Do you see what I'm saying? So if I send the slide broadcast, it's going to show it from my cell phone number. If I do it if I'm doing it one-on-one and I'm in my car, I'm going to do it straight through slide broadcast, because it's just an app. You put in the phone number, you drop the voicemail you want, easy. If I do it through the drip campaign, like if I'm in the office or I have access to my actual computer, then easily I'm just going to assign that drip, and it's going to do my virtual number, which is okay, because when they call the number back, it still rings to my cell phone. Mm-hmm. So it's just it's just depending upon what you want to do. But let me just show you really quick. I have it here. So how do I flip the screen? Okay, hold on. I'm trying to think of, how do you flip a screen on right here. Okay, so you see this right here. So I have like an example.
Is this slide broadcast that we're looking at?
Yes, this is slide broadcast. I'm logged in. So this is a voicemail that I pre-recorded, right? So what I've done is whenever I meet with a buyer, this is just my Spanish because I'm bilingual. So I have English and I have Spanish, the exact same message. But basically what I do is I'll send a thank you in-person meeting for meeting me in person. Just wanted to check in to see how, if they had any questions. So I'm just constantly following up with them, right? Just checking in. But what you could do is you could put Spring Valley or your city, right? City voicemail drop. So then when you go and you want to hit this person, right? You would go into new campaign, right? And then you just put in the phone number. And then you can select the existing recording and send.
So you're not sending them mass, you're sending them one at a time. And that's allowing you to be able to send the actual like Zillow information to that person. I guess that's where I'm getting hung up, is like, if I were to mass text everyone, hey, here's the Zillow info, like your Zestimate, how am I then sending each one their individual Zestimate? But you're not doing it mass, you're doing it individually.
Correct. Yeah. But I don't have to text the same thing over and over and over. It's generic. The voicemail's already there. So when I hit, let's say, Susie Gomez in my CRM, all I'm doing is that text message is already going to go out, the Zillow one, right? The one, the ZMA. But while that's going out, because we still have to attach the photo, right? So while that's going out, I just pull it up, screenshot it, insert it into my CRM text, and I'm done. I don't have to copy, paste, screenshot, call, leave the voicemail for the follow-up. I'm doing everything within seconds.
That's awesome. Awesome.
And then you print out the list that you're going to be calling, right? Or like that you're going to be doing it so you can check it off. So it just depends on how you operate. If you're digital, then obviously you could have a Google spreadsheet, Google Sheet to do it. Or if you're more hands-on, like I like paper for certain things, so I can cross it off, check off the list. Then you can keep track of, hey, this person's not interested, or hey, this one's legit. And then if they call you back, you can look through your list. Oh yeah, so and so, right? So it's just
what's really awesome about this process is you can make an SOP for it, and you can have a VA do it for you. So you don't even have to be involved, and your voicemail's going out and your text is going out and everything's done.
And if you make it generic, especially like I didn't even think about that alternative. That's amazing, in my opinion, because if you pull that listing right then and there, you could easily have that same, you could create an SOP for that. And you could say, you can not only just send that text message, but you can create the slide broadcast for that, and then send a follow-up text with a follow-up slide broadcast with the, hey, this just sold. It ended up selling at this price, way over market or whatever, or at market or under, and you can kind of dictate your stuff, but you're still becoming that person's, resource. So I would share that, not to go on a tangent, but thank you.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that, Rose. Does anyone else have any hacks or successes or anything through this 100K in 100 days? I mean, I know for me, the process is kind of brutal. I feel like it's hard, but I think I've definitely gotten a few appointments and a few hand raisers and stuff. So it's definitely worth it, and it's definitely working. It's just finding the way, like through these hacks, to make it manageable. So anyone have anything else to share on that? We do have an accountability group. It's in GroupMe. So if you want to be added to that, I can definitely add you. Just let me know. And that's kind of where I'm trying to stir up some of these conversations and ideas so that we can all learn from each other and make it as simple as possible. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you everyone for joining. I am going to be doing another one next month. I'm going to try to get a little more consistent with this because I love to see your guys' faces and hear your ideas. And I personally think I learn like more from you guys than I do from coaching. So that is like where the good stuff and the magic happens. So I want to make sure that we're, meeting regularly. So I will get another one on the calendar. And then I'm also going to be getting information out for Elite Retreat in Orlando, putting together a spa day and an Epcot day. So hopefully you guys can join for one or both of those, and we'll spend some time kind of there as well. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. I'll see you soon, friend.
Okay, have a great day.
Bye.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.